Incentive designing. This is what we will be discussing in today's presentation. So how do we design incentive and what motivates an employee to be in the job, to come to the job on everyday basis and perform with all his or her integrity therefore. So yes, incentive plays a major roles in the motivation process. So let us understand how to design incentives. So why do the question is, why do some of us actually love jobs and love to go to our offices and do with our workspace, whereas some others actually detest? If you want to answer this question, this is the presentation that you need to watch it around. It is all about the incentive to go to works around given the attractiveness to the work, the balance that it brings around to your authority, prestige, and probably how it caresses your ego. Oh, so we will examine the underlying concept that distinguish between effective incentives from the ineffective ones. We will look at the goals, performance of the individuals, team, units, department, and the organization might be more effectively linked as the case might be going around this. Yes, what are the concepts? What are the intricacies? What are the motivational and ambitious project incentives that a person is being hooked up on to get the best of the facilities that has been there? So I what do I do so as the reward or the incentives gets more attractive? So you need to ask it out how to make it much more lucrative for your employees. As far as incentives and reward systems are concerned, what kind of incentives? Is it only monetary incentives that we are looking for it, or there are certain things with wherein we can have the same mileage, same efficiency with non-monetary incentives too? So try to find out how what do the usually organizations follow up with the incentives so as to keep the employees interested in their project. So we'll talk about incentive and rewarding desired performances. Remember, the word is incenting and rewarding the desired performances. So we will first design the issues for performance-based incentives and rewards to be effective incentive and reward system. We need to be very clear with our objectives of each of the work, each of the play performances that comes around it. We specify the level of aggregations for reward distribution in an organization hierarchy. Specify the type of reward that comes around it and try to gain an acceptance of the employee, thereby the sells what is most important thereby, which needs to be understood. Employers should measure, should reward what is important. We need to understand if there is a clarity as far as an objective is concerned, if there's a clarity as with respect to the goals that has been mentioned by the organization, and the employees have come to know about those clarity prior hand. Would do you think they will ignore the performance aspect? Probably not, because everything that they do will be easily being measured. That will be talking about conflict resolution, be it about the relationship building. So resultant and behaviors are absolutely important, are absolutely the pinnacle of success that we are looking for it. Example of results of profit, productivity, attendance, quality, sales. Example of behavior, on the other hand, are returns of customer calls within 24 hours as on when on basis that we keep on trying to do so. So we have the results, we have the effects of behaviors. So how prompt are we? How effective are we in terms of behavior? How cordial are we? In terms of result, what are the outcomes in terms of profit, productivity? So behaviors and result can be working as a miracle, as an incentive in which the workers can be controlled. And that is what we are looking to do about it with designing an incentive that keeps the worker on on his or her toes. So deciding whether to focus on a short-term objectives or a long-term objective, it is difficult balancing to act to ensure that the long-term performances and goals are not sacrificed for the short-term result. For example, focusing on the short-term stock price of a company while neglecting a crucial long-term investing in R&D, downsizing to reduce short-term cost while neglecting and long-term skills and knowledge development as the case might be. So we need to be focused. Or should we myopic in our views, or should we focus on the long-term goal? Should we keep the near small skittles, ignore it for the long-term goals altogether? Let us try to win the war and not the battles as the case might be. Specifying the levels of aggressions for the rewards, distributions, and the organization hierarchy. Decisions about who to reward, how to reward, what has to be done based on individual employees, work teams, departmental plans, strategic business units, organization as a whole, as the case might be. And this is what we are looking into it. Remember, as an individual employees, work teams, departmental plants, strategic business units, organization as a whole, what we look into it. So specify the level of aggressions for the reward distribution. Is it on the individual employees? Is it on the teams? Is it on the plant? Is it on the function? Is it on the organization as a whole? The organization as a whole can be rewarded if everyone has been given an incentives and things have improved with the working condition. The work-life balances that has to be done. If an individual has to be rewarded, probably incentives which are monetary or non-monetary can be done. If the team has to be rewarded, the whole team can be given both monetary and non-monetary rewards. Incremental monetary, non-incremental. Non-monetary rewards would be sending the whole team for a vacation elsewhere. Probably vacation, it can be within the country, outside the country, department plants, and so on and so forth, which goes around it. So level of aggressions for rewards and distribution, and how do we go across with it? So you look into it individually. Every time we talk about incentives, we always keep in mind that it is individuals to be incentivized or to be rewarded upon or to be recognized upon, but it is not so. It can be the department, it can be the team or the organization as a whole that can be rewarded altogether. So you need to understand the level of aggression that comes around it. What are we looking into? It is the facilities, is the work life being accustomed or upgraded altogether with newer facilities, cushioned chair, wonderful restrooms, and so on and so forth, as an organization that can be rewarded. Or the team been sent overseas for a vacations, a department can be looked recognized as a performance and given an above average increment, above average rewards, and will be duly acknowledged on the organization's wide scales as a particular department, uh, which is to be absolutely congratulated for their high team spirit and excellent performances. So that is what the level of aggregations or reward is all about. It specify the type of rewards. To be effective, the reward should be valued by the employees. And believe me, everything that has been valued by the employees need not be financial, right? It can be a recognition that has been made. The photographs of the person can be posted and probably revered and referred every now and then as a valuable contributor to the organizational goals. Must be clearly linked to the expected behavior or result for financial rewards and proportion of the risk. P risk, generally, this is what we are looking into it. As far as the employees are concerned, moving up into the organization, how do we go around it? Cultures vary in acceptability and the respect as do the respect goes around it. So we have this specify the type of reward must be valued by a company, by the employees, may be linked or expected with behaviors or result as the case might be. Financial requirement as on when on basis. Cultures vary in acceptability at risk based system. So gain employee acceptance. Now this is one of the very much requirement for designing incentives. The incentives should be valued and appreciated by the employees. The plan must be clearly communicated. Now, employees can believe and should believe that they are being treated fairly. There are no bottlenecks at any point of the execution. There is no case of nepotism that will actually creep up. The plan must be easily understood. Incentives would be easy to calculate. The employees should have input effort in establishing and administrating the plan? If so, nothing like it. If you can empower the employees to implement the plan or establish the plan or administer the plan, as the case might be, this will inculcate the habit of transparency, the habit of confidence, the habit of loyalty towards an organization. Whenever possible, reward should be given as soon as it has been reached, the desired behavior or the desired result, the performance has been achieved, as the case might be. Employees must have an avenue to appeal if they believe that they have been treated unfairly. Now, this is something called grievance handling. If someone has been rewarded, the other person can always put up his or her hand and state why shouldn't they be considered and what was their contribution in the overall process of the productivity or desired behavior. Whatever the criteria is all about it, employee must believe that they can trust the organization and to be confident that the effort, performance, reward links are already materialized. As the case may be, the legal consideration is of discrimination may apply the same decision rules to all employees eligible for the rewards for the incentive, employee protected by title and Equal Pay Act, as the case might be. This is what we need to go about it. As far as designing the pay structures is considered, we should ensure about going across a certain discrimination or certain grievances that might creep in, that might be valid and not so. So you need to consider everybody and always have a transparency in place. Always have a check and balances mechanism in place whenever you are designing or awarding incentives to any one of your employees. Taxes and accounting rules, for example, government governing those capital gains, deferred compensation, and stock option as far as the companies are concerned. Now, this should be kept in mind every now and then. Why are group projects so unpopular? Let's say why it is unpopular with the employees as such. Why is it so? You need to ask this question every now and then. So let us why don't we use a team-based incentive? Design challenge for performance-based team incentive. Align team performance, measure it with an individual performance. Your individual contribution that aligns with the team contribution, overall team contribution. Aligning team performance measures with an organizational performance measure as with your team performance, how does impact towards the overall organization's achievement of goal? Ensuring workload has been equitably distributed. So what happens in team performances is some people are taking a hell lot of a load as far as execution of the workload is concerned for the team, and then there are people who are at most laggards. They do not share up the most of the load workloads altogether, but since they are part of the team, they get benefited nevertheless, and this is what needs to be avoided as such. So coordinating team incentives and incentive for people not in teams, as the case might be. Determining how incentives are allocated more among core and non-core team members with the passage of time, as the case around it, needs to be taken with utmost sincerity. There are advantages and there are disadvantages for team incentive. Let me go begin with the advantages of team incentive. There's intense peer pressures to reduce counterproductive work. When you see colleagues, your co-workers are actually giving their 110% into the work, it automatically gets imbibed into you. The energy gets transferred, and you also try to make an all and out effort to achieve the goals. So there is a synergy that comes to work around it. It reduces social loafing. People become a cohesive force. They are actually getting inspired from one another. Group rewards such as praise, camaraderie, and increasing reward value. And remember, high performer acts as a role model for the marginal performer, a person who is performing at the highest of the level, giving 110% of visibility, will always be an inspirational, will always be a role model for a person who is not probably giving his 100 or her 100%, that they will try to emulate the high performer employees from there. So let us understand and wind up this particular presentation with designing uh, the incentives altogether. How do we go about it? This is where it is. Individual varies and what, as in what motivates them. Some people are monetarily motivated, some people are motivated by recognition, some people are motivated by a conducive work environment. So incentives and reward must be varied also. You should always assume that one size does not, and it doesn't fit at all. Organization frequently rewards the very behavior, the very result that they trying to avoid. It is something which you need to avoid it altogether. Absolutely, do not reward the same behavior which actually imbibes a sense of jealousy among the co-workers around it. Incentives and reward must be aligned within and among the individual team units, the organization as a whole, as the most effective. And in a fashion, if you are designing an incentive which actually uplifts the spirits, uplift the work ethos, the goals, and enhance the efficiency of our organization, nothing like it. That is what we are looking for it, to make an effective team, to make an effective individual, and in turn to make a productive organization. With this, I come to an end of this presentation. Thank you for watching this video.